Have you ever heard of the disappearance of Justine Gross? If you haven't, don't worry, because neither have most of the people who live in the building where it happened. And it would appear that the Center County District Attorney wants to keep it that way. I'm Aiden Mattis, and welcome back to the Lore Lunch. We like to think of universities as safe, but as with any place where large numbers of people gather, this isn't always the case. And Penn State, my alma mater, is no exception. Now, while many of the crimes which involve students on and around the campus of Pennsylvania's largest university are alcohol-related, such as DUIs, assaults, and so on, there are a few unsolved disappearances, murders, and accidents which still haunt the hallowed halls of this storied institution. Now, some of those stories are famous, and others are little known. The yet unsolved murder of Betsy Aardsma may very well be the best-known unsolved homicide story in the state, now that we've identified the culprits behind the boy-in-the-box case, having taken place inside the discomforting Pattee Stacks section of the school's library. But others are not quite as notorious, such as the Halloween night disappearance of Cindy Song, last seen walking towards her off-campus apartment after being dropped off by friends in the early hours of November 1st, 2001. Despite the full might of the local police and assistance from the FBI, this is a case which remains cold 24 years later, with every lead turning to dust, sometimes literally, in the intervening years. From sightings in Philadelphia to testimonies involving serial killers, Cindy's case has seemed so close to being solved several times, only for justice to slip away at the last minute. More recently, the bizarre death of sophomore Justine Gross was ruled an accident just 3 years ago, despite considerable circumstantial evidence pointing towards foul play, or at the very least criminal negligence. You see, within hours of her disappearance, police had a suspect, a confession, and video evidence, only for the DA to decide not to pursue charges. The question is, was it a lack of competence, or is something more sinister at play, as Center County continues to withhold information from the media, the students, and most importantly, Justine's family? That's why I decided that I couldn't just do this video from our studio. This is a real place. These are real people. Their deaths were tragedies, their stories deserve to be told, and those who hurt them should be brought to justice. Something is rotten in the state of Pennsylvania, and as a lifelong resident of this Commonwealth and a graduate of Penn State, I don't intend to sit idly by as the authorities in Center County sweep Justine's death under the rug. Now, please forgive me for taking a break from the story, but the Center County DA isn't the only person neglecting to fulfill his responsibilities. You see, despite how great Aiden and Kurt make me look on camera, I have to confess that I'm not the best at taking care of my health. For that reason, I've made the decision to supplement my diet with something that fills the gaps left by my failure to remember to eat my daily share of veggies. And that something is AG1. Truth is, I don't have the energy or iron stomach that I used to, but AG1's juicy green goodness is my way of boosting my energy, helping my digestion, and getting the immune support I so desperately need given how little I sleep. For a supplement, it tastes great and it's convenient to be able to quickly shake it up while I make my breakfast, and then take it with me to my desk. Cheers. If you're interested in seeing what it can do for you, now is the best time to give AG1 a try. You can get started with AG1 for less than $3 a day when you subscribe, so just head to the link in the description or scan the QR code to get your first order. You'll also get $76 worth of free extras, including 5 AG1 travel packs, the shaker I just drank out of, I mean, not that specific one, you don't want this. If you do, I have further questions. But, that aside, you'll also get a bottle of vitamin D3 plus K2 and a metal canister filled with dreams and wonders. And speaking of wonder, you may be wondering how it is that someone can be drugged moments before going missing and have that caught on camera, and yet it's still declared an accident where nobody else was at fault. Something just happened. Those words, sent over Snapchat at 11:22 p.m. on November 10th, 2021, were the last known words of 19-year-old Penn State sophomore Justine Gross before she disappeared from Beaver Terrace Apartments in downtown State College, Pennsylvania. While details regarding the original missing persons report for Justine are scant, the story of the short-lived investigation is actually very straightforward. Shortly after being informed of her disappearance around 5 in the evening on November 11th, State College police investigators obtained security footage from Beaver Terrace. The CCTV system reportedly captured Justine leaving her 10th floor apartment and then heading down to another apartment on the 7th floor. 40 or so minutes later, she left the residence in the company of a male student, appearing unsteady on her feet, clutching a water bottle, and rubbing her face. The cameras, which are located in the center of the hallway and face both staircases, but do not appear to face each other, caught both students reappearing in the hallway of the 10th floor, and that's where things get weird. Police say that the footage did not show the male student escorting her to her home. Instead, it would appear he left her in the hallway before heading back downstairs, or at least so the cops say. Whatever the case, the next time Justine was seen, she was on the 11th floor, running barefoot down the hallway and into the trash room. And that is where the story takes a bizarre twist, because cameras never show her emerging from that room. And now that I've been there, I wrote this script before getting up there, because the whole thing with this. I'm very interested in the fact that I didn't see any reporting about her going back into the stairwell, because I was in there, and the cameras face both stairwells. So I'm wondering why there's a gap here. Now, usually this is the point in the story where I'd tell you all about the extensive search efforts for Justine, the witness interviews, and how police did everything they could to track her down. But in this case, that's not what happened. To be fair to the police, there really was only one person they could have possibly questioned in this case, and he either couldn't or wouldn't tell them anything useful. According to both police and Justine's mother, Francois or Francis, I actually don't know how this is pronounced. Francoise. Gross. That's her mother. The young man last seen with her on CCTV explained that he had invited Justine down for a smoke, and that when she arrived, he offered her a blunt. She apparently had a bad reaction, in his words, and that's when he escorted her back up to the 10th floor, but not all the way to her actual apartment. He wasn't seen on camera with her on the 11th floor, nor had he spoken to her after parting ways that night. Or so he said. You see, what happened to Justine is strange enough in and of itself, but it's not just the fact that she vanished from an 11th-story trash room, which raises questions about her fate. In fact, that aspect of the mystery was solved almost immediately. Though there was no sign of Justine anywhere in Beaver Terrace or the dumpsters below the chute, investigators were only a little over a day into the search when they made a discovery at the Center County Refuse and Recycling Transfer Station just outside of downtown State College. At around 2:45 a.m. on November 12th, just 27 hours after surveillance footage showed Justine running into the trash room, police officers searching the facility came across the missing Belisario School of Communication student's body. And for reasons I genuinely cannot comprehend, rather than pointing the investigators in the right direction, this event seemed to all but eliminate the department's interest in the case. And before we go any further in this video, I do want to say that my goal is not to just blast the State College Police Department. It's not to make them look incompetent. It's not to make Penn State look like it's an unsafe school to go to, because I disagree that it is. I think Penn State's a very safe school to go to, for the most part. I just am very concerned and confused about this specific case, and about how the Center County DA might be preventing justice from being served. I also want to say that I did reach out to the State College Police Department. I did have a conversation with the patrol captain, and that before we go any further in the video, I want to, again, emphasize, I sent an email that had the entire script of this video when I asked for comment. I said, for the sake of transparency and because I want to ensure that I do not misrepresent the department's work, I do want to share the current version of our script for our segment on Justine Gross with you. I have not changed the script since sending this email. My goal in our work is to be honest, not sensational, and to provide both praise and credit where it's due. I know that you've been on the force for a while, and since you serve as captain, it's only fair that you see what I currently plan to say. Please consider taking a look and offering comment where you're able. I want students to trust you guys the way I did when I was there from 2016 to 2020. As it stands, I'll admit that it comes across as critical of the police, though I'm more interested in holding the DA's feet to the fire, as I know that's where the decisions are made. And then I sent him the whole script. I have not received a response. So, it is now Thursday, October 23rd, which is the day before this video is supposed to go up on Friday, October 24th, 2025. And I have to say that I need to correct, to some extent, what was just said, which was that we reached out to the police and they didn't get back to us. Now, they did not get back to us before we shot the majority of this video, but this morning I did receive an email from the State College Police Department going into a little bit more of an explanation of what happened on their end. It's not much, but I figured I should read it to you because I was criticizing the police pretty heavily for not getting back to me on that, and it's only fair that I then clarify that, this is how this saga came to an end. So I'm going to read to you what was sent to me by the State College Police after reading through the script for the video. They have not seen the video itself, but they have seen the script, and I received this email from the patrol captain. Thank you for reaching out, Aiden. I appreciate your attempt at not misrepresenting, sensationalizing, and providing praise where praise is due. I know this can be hard with the information you have and don't have. I would like to point out that our quick response and our investigation is what led to the discovery of Justine, which, had that not taken place, would likely have resulted in her never being found. I think that is correct. If it comes across in the video that I was faulting the police for how they began the investigation, not at all. I think that they did exactly what they were supposed to do at the beginning of the investigation. Where I'm curious about what happened here, and I'm going to pull this over a little bit so it's easier for me to read, where I'm curious about what happened here is what comes next in this email, and I plan to follow up, but obviously I will not receive a response to that until after this video goes live. But the next thing that the police captain said was, there are investigative steps that you were not aware of and we are not able to share. I'm curious as to what he means by that. I understand police procedure, that they can't tell me exactly what they have done. I assume this is with reference to the part where I talk about not investigating this young man, because it appeared that they didn't from the news reporting. Maybe they did. He did not confirm nor deny that in any explicit terms, but he did tell me, we too do not wish to sensationalize such cases or further traumatize family, friends, and others involved in these types of tragic events, at times limiting our release of all information related to the case. While I understand the police perspective on that, I would argue that since the family has been pushing for a release of information regarding this case, since the family did not, and to my knowledge does not, believe that this young man who was with Justine that night bears no responsibility for what happened to her, like I said, I understand police policy, I understand the laws and all of that. I don't know that I can agree that that information shouldn't be released, but I don't know that the police are saying it shouldn't be either. Again, I believe that this officer worded his response to me very carefully. I'm trying not to read between the lines too much, and I'm trying to give him as much of the benefit of the doubt as possible, because again, I do think that the State College Police in general do a very good job. Next, he said, I would again refer you to the Center County District Attorney for comments about this specific case. As far as our agency is concerned, we charge people to hold them accountable for their actions and involvement in such cases, and had we had probable cause to charge anyone in this matter, we would have. Probable cause is the key element to any charging decision and was considered in this case. What I wonder there, because there is a difference between probable cause and reasonable suspicion in legal terminology. I think I have that second term correct. What I don't know is, does this mean that the Center County DA would not acquire a warrant for them? Or does it mean that the police did not believe that they had probable cause? I don't know which of those two it is. And while I do intend to ask, I highly doubt that I will receive an answer that tells me anything, because they, again, have to be diplomatic with the DA. I don't know if this email was sent, back and forth between the DA. I don't know the involvement here. All I know is that my specific questions were neither confirmed nor denied. So I don't know what to think. Regardless, I still think that the Center County DA is a dumpster person who has absolutely no right having the kind of power they do if they're going to let something like this walk. I mean, this kid who gave her drugs, which were illegal for her to have, and then she died. At the very least, that is a possession and distribution charge, and potentially you could argue for negligent homicide or involuntary manslaughter. This person should be charged, but I don't know exactly where this is going to end up in the video, but this individual should be charged, and I, as well as several other people I've talked to, believe that it is likely he was either an athlete for the school, somebody who comes from a large donor family, somebody with an important name, something like that, and that the Center County DA didn't want to step on any toes. So I don't know exactly what it is, but I'm not satisfied. But that said, I do have to give props to the police department for doing their best to communicate their position on the issue. The last response I did receive referred me towards a media release. And, well, just 1 week after Justine's body was found, the State College Police put out a media release. I had to transition back into the script. Sorry, that wasn't super smooth. Anyway, that release, in part, reads, "Preliminary information available to investigators indicates the death to be accidental in nature." And then it goes on to state that police can confirm that Gross died as a result of a fall inside an 11th floor solid waste disposal chute into a waste receptacle on the ground floor. While they did say that the investigation was still ongoing, this was tempered by the statement that video evidence suggests she was alone in the 11th floor hallway and in the waste disposal room when she fell. The part which I'm most interested in, however, is the line which reads, "All witnesses are still fully cooperating with the police." Why is that interesting? Well, according to a New York Post article published the same day as that press release, Justine's mother told the media that the young man was not talking after hiring a lawyer. So, given the total lack of other witnesses, who were the police referring to, and why did they say all witnesses? Whatever the case, that lawyer must have been very good, because that male student's name remains unreported even 4 years later. All we know about him is that he told Justine's mother that he gave her a blunt, and that Justine's roommates say she'd only met the kid a couple of days before she died. That's not all we know about that night, though. As NewJersey.com reporter Richard Cohen explained, Justine's flip-flops, cell phone, and wallet with all her credit cards were later found on the stairwell, which the mother thinks suggests that her daughter was being chased. The police disagreed. In February of 2022, so this is about 4 months later, the Center County coroner released the autopsy report, which concluded that Justine had traces of alcohol and THC in her liver and had died of multiple acute blunt force traumas. With that, the police officially ruled out foul play, stating that, at this time, no new information has been obtained by State College Police or the Center County Coroner's Office to indicate that this death was criminal in nature, as Justine Gross' injuries are consistent with a fall from the 11th floor of her apartment building. Absent any new information or evidence, the State College Police Department is concluding our investigation into this matter. That was it. It was nothing but an accident, plain and simple. All as a result of, smoking a blunt and having a couple of drinks. And nobody was to blame but Justine. As a Penn State alum myself, I call bullshit. First of all, this male student, whoever he was, admitted to providing Justine with marijuana, and then he was caught on camera abandoning her before he ensured she had safely made it home. And remember, he said that she was having a bad reaction. He knew he should have brought her all the way back into her apartment. In fact, he probably should have called one of her friends, her roommate, anything of the sort to make sure somebody was paying attention to this girl, or if he couldn't do that, he should have done the right thing and taken her to the hospital. But he didn't do that. Instead, he lawyered up and decided not to talk. And, he has every right to do that, but the Center County DA should have responded by sending police to search his apartment and arrest him for the cut and dry crime of furnishing intoxicants to someone below the legal age to consume them. Now, I want to be very clear here. In the state of Pennsylvania, marijuana is still illegal. Granted, that does not mean that nobody uses it, and to be quite honest, it's only illegal in a very technical sense. There are all sorts of hemp-derived THC products that you can legally buy and consume, but you do need to be 21 years of age to do so. So no bones about it, they had probable cause. And if this kid had the wrong kind of marijuana product, that is a possession and a distribution charge on top. So, let's recap. Let's take a look at what the police say happened here. Justine went down to this young man's apartment. He gave her the blunt. She had what he described as a bad reaction. And then moments after she left, she supposedly jumped headfirst into a trash chute after leaving behind her phone, shoes, and wallet in a stairwell. Taking all of that into account, I cannot grasp why the DA and the police didn't threaten this kid with charges of furnishing, possession, distribution, and anything else they could have come up with while searching his apartment in order to get him to talk. Did he kill Justine? I don't know. At least not in as much as he could have thrown her down the chute himself. It seems like he probably didn't do that. Now, before we went up there, when I first wrote this script, I had my suspicions about whether or not he could have done that. Because, as far as I knew, that trash chute's opening might look like the one I had in Beaver Hill, which is a different complex from Beaver Terrace, but it's on the same street. But that one was a little higher off the ground, and it was a few feet off the ground, and it was a lot smaller. I got in, I did see the Beaver Terrace trash chute, the exact one she would have went down, and it was lower to the ground. It actually locks open, and it's much bigger. We have footage of it. We can roll that tape. The way this story goes is that Justine ran up the stairs, she ran down this hallway. I'm gonna have to check and see where those cameras are. And then I just decided to jump down there. Which, you could do that. Definitely answers some questions I had, because ours was up a lot higher. But what gets me is, in that state, panicked, I just have a hard time believing it. You know? I can't fault them for not having safety measures on that. There's no way you can anticipate that somebody's going to try and jump into it, but... You know? I believe it. If she's in a panic state, maybe she manages to do that, but I have questions nonetheless. But yeah, I mean, it's possible. That answers that. One of my biggest questions was how likely is it that somebody could just dive into the thing? Apparently very likely. That doesn't answer the question of why. I mean, it must have been a drug issue. Even if she wasn't being chased, even if she wasn't actually in danger, there must have been something other than weed in that blunt. As I say in the video, I think, depending, we haven't shot it yet, but weed doesn't do that. Weed doesn't make you panic and think you're being chased by a monster down a hallway and jump into a trash chute to your death. That doesn't happen. So why the hell did this kid, who goes unnamed in all of the media reporting, not get charged with anything? He must have given her something. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like it. Oh, it stays. So, after seeing it in person, I could see how somebody could jump down there. I wouldn't expect somebody to do that, but you can see how it's possible. All of that said, if the uncut tape from that night doesn't show anyone else entering the trash room, it's going to be really hard to pin this kid for homicide, because unless he threw her down the chute, he did not commit a homicide. Or at least not an intentional one. Now, until I see the tape myself, I can't say for certain if the tape shows him being on that floor. The police say he wasn't, that's all we have to work with. But what I can say is that there is clear, compelling evidence that this was at the very least negligence which resulted in somebody's death. But instead of charging him with that, instead of building the case, instead of trying to get him to talk, they seem to have just totally exonerated the guy without even trying to see if he might have been responsible. And unfortunately, that is not the end of the problems. To be frank about the official narrative on why Justine ended up in the chute, weed doesn't do that, and neither does alcohol. At least not on their own, or even put together. They don't have an interaction that produces what has to have been psychosis. Add something more potent to the mix, however, and you might get the kind of paranoid delusions which could lead somebody to, while thinking they're being chased, jump down a trash chute. And Justine's parents also seem to have questioned the possibility that the blunt involved more than just cannabis. But when they requested a copy of the coroner's report, they were told that it would cost $700. Look, there's cases where charging a fee for a public record might make sense. For example, if I wanted all files pertaining to the death of Betsy Aardsma, it would require somebody spending paid time to go and look through everything, compile it, redact things, and send it over. In this case, however, they were asking for a PDF copy of a report that had literally just been put together, and since it pertained to their daughter, there was nothing to redact. All Center County had to do was email a copy of that over to her parents. And instead, they demanded $700. Mr. and Mrs. Gross, if you see this and you still don't have a copy of that report and you still want a copy of that report, I will pay the $700 out of my own pocket. No strings attached. You guys deserve to have it. Now, you also deserved a coroner and a medical examiner who took their job seriously enough to consider all the possibilities for criminality associated with this case. Your daughter died immediately after leaving the apartment of a young man who admitted to giving her drugs, appearing unstable on her feet, having just texted a friend saying something just happened, and yet the medical examiner apparently didn't think to check for signs of sexual assault. There is no excuse. There is no justice in this. Either the Center County DA was too lazy to do his job properly, he was paid to keep quiet, or he is a coward. I cannot fathom what legitimate reason the county would have to keep this information from you, or to sue to prevent the media from getting their hands on the coroner's report. That's right. According to the Huntington Daily Herald, after a New Jersey media outlet requested the autopsy report, Center County refused to release it. And even after an appeal resulted in an order to release that report once the fees were paid, Center County retaliated by filing an appeal to the decision to release the autopsy report. And as far as I can tell, the report has never been provided. Finally, at least as it pertains to this case, how dare you let this kid, who gave her the drugs which you say led to her death, off the hook? My freshman year roommate had to go to court multiple times, was fined, given community service, and all the cops had on him was a bong they found in his car. Not the drugs themselves, just the paraphernalia. That was enough to send him to court, get fined, and be sentenced to community service. Yet this troglodyte gets a teenager so high that she jumps to her death down a trash chute in panic, at least according to you. And he gets off scot-free? How utterly and completely pathetic are you? If there is a God, and I believe there is, then I pray that St. Peter has his own CCTV system so that when I arrive in the afterlife, I can watch the tape of you groveling for forgiveness when you stand before the pearly gates awaiting his judgment. Unfortunately, until someone holds Centre County's feet to the fire, it doesn't seem like there will be any movement towards justice for Justine. So that's why, while we were up at Penn State for actually Parents' Weekend, we went around and interviewed some students. You guys want to answer some questions about some unsolved mysteries on campus?
Yeah.
Are you guys students?
Yes.
Hey, what are your names?
I'm Jess. I'm Liv.
You guys okay being on camera?
Yeah.
All right. So, I'm curious, are you guys aware of the murder in the Stacks a whole bunch of years ago?
Oh, no. No.
Oh, you didn't know about this?
No. Here?
Yeah, here.
Oh, shoot.
You didn't know this?
No.
All right, there was a young woman named Betsy Aardsma who was actually killed in the Pattee Stacks. I am shocked that that is not better known, personally. When I was a student here, it was like,
oh my God,
everybody was talking about it. But, so are you aware that there are also a couple of other disappearances that have happened here?
No.
All right, so this is the most interesting part to me. Back in 2021, there was a girl named Justine Gross. Have you heard her story?
No.
So you guys just...
Sorry. We
No,
don't
you're
really
fine.
know anything.
What year are you?
We're freshmen.
You're freshmen?
Yeah.
That makes a little bit more sense. All right, that's really all I need to know. But, right now what we're doing is just to clarify it, the Centre County District Attorney refuses to actually charge the witness involved in her death. And so we're trying to, get people to understand that Penn State is a safe place, but only a safe place when we have honesty from our authorities, right?
Yeah. Correct.
Would you guys feel safer if the Centre County DA actually did his job?
Yes.
You would? Okay. See, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. You guys have a nice Parents' Weekend.
You too.
You guys know about the murder of Justine Gross?
Yes.
You've heard about it?
In the library?
No, that's Betsy Aardsma.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah. Were you guys aware that there was a young woman in 2021 who fell to her death in a trash chute in Beaver Terrace?
In Beaver Terrace?
Yes.
Wow.
This is fascinating.
That is fascinating.
Yeah, so I found out about this from I'm a former student of class 2020. Found out from a class 2022 girl who was here when it happened that this young woman was spotted on camera with a young man walking upstairs, and then he leaves her behind after giving her a blunt, as he told the police. Didn't say if it was laced with anything, but she panicked and then jumped down a trash chute. As far as his story goes, any thoughts on that?
That's crazy.
It is, right? And isn't it crazy that you guys as students don't know about it?
No, I think more people should know about this.
More people should know about it, exactly.
What can we do as students? What can we do as students to kind of spread this information?
So I think first of all we got the video coming out on it, but I think what would really help, because I'm sure you guys feel safe on campus, right? I felt safe on campus when I was here. What would help is, maybe talking to the Collegian, getting them to drum some stuff up about it, because they did cover it, but they didn't cover it all that much. Now, this is an award-winning student paper, right?
Yeah.
These guys do great work. And I think that if the student body started to, push, maybe the Collegian started to push the Centre County DA to, release the autopsy report to her parents, because they haven't done that, I think that would help, right?
I'm surprised they haven't even released the autopsy report. That's crazy.
Not even to her parents.
Not even to her parents. They wanted to charge the parents $700 for a copy of the autopsy report, for a PDF. Pretty crazy, right?
What's your channel?
Our channel is the Lore Lodge.
Lore Lodge?
Yeah.
Is that on YouTube?
Yeah.
Does anybody have a problem with being in the video?
I'm a little bald right now. Normally I have hair.
We can have our editor, Kurt, add some hair.
Yeah,
Or we can give you a hat.
Wait, can I say into the microphone? I'm a little bald right now, but I swear I have hair normally.
We believe you.
Yeah, it's actually really good hair.
I believe you. Would you like us to have Kurt add some hair, or perhaps like a nice, Civil War captain's hat?
Can y'all actually censor my bald head?
We can. We can put a blur spot over it if you want.
Like a black square.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We got you.
Wait, what's your channel?
The Lore Lodge.
The Lore
Yeah.
Lodge.
It's toasty out here today.
Yeah.
That is us. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
For
Thank you
sharing
guys
this.
for chatting, because as I was working on this video, I was like, man, this is crazy that nobody seems to be aware that this happened. Somebody Yeah, it's most likely that it wasn't a deliberate murder, but negligent homicide. You know, a guy gave her laced drugs and she jumped down a trash chute.
Yeah.
That kind of person should be prosecuted,
Yeah,
right?
you should be held accountable for, you know, like I mean, the definition of negligence, like, you know, just because you don't know about it, or like just because you you know aren't doing something about it doesn't mean, you know, you are liable for it.
Right. If you give somebody laced drugs and they end up dying as a result, you should be prosecuted, correct?
Of course.
We can all agree on that?
I think it actually goes for any sort of inebriation. If you know if you are the sole provider of, you know, some sort of substance, laced or not laced, you know, you should be held at least somewhat accountable for
Exactly.
the death of someone.
Exactly. And I think maybe the Center County DA should consider that, right? Right? All right. Thank you guys so much. What was your name?
I'm Akito. Akito.
Akito?
Yeah.
Akito.
Akito.
Okay.
Yep.
Nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you. Anthony.
Anthony?
Ami.
Ami? Nice to meet you guys. Have a great day.
Yeah, y'all too.
Good luck on whatever you're working on. Good question for you guys. You look like, you know, gents who have been here a couple of years. You don't have to be on camera. I'm just curious. We're doing some reporting here. Did you guys know that a girl died in Beaver Terrace in 2021 by falling down the trash chute?
No.
This is truly incredible. Yeah, that happened. Yeah. We're I wrote a script on it, video on it, and I was coming up here. I'm like, I'm a Penn State alum. I'm going to talk to people, right? Surely they know. Turns out that this is not a well-known fact. Did you guys know that the Center County DA had a witness on camera who gave this girl drugs? Obviously, it didn't, right? Because you didn't know about the murder. Would you guys feel safer on campus if you know the Center County DA did his job?
I don't really know enough to.
I don't know enough to say. But
Yeah.
I don't
Yes.
know much about the case.
That's what we need to hear.
Yeah.
Do you feel like this girl's parents deserve justice for her death is the real question.
Yes.
Right? Of course. And that involves the Center County DA doing his job. All right. Thank you, guys. You guys want to answer some questions about murder? Probably could ask that in a more effective way, to be fair. Now, I gotta say, my flabbers were utterly gasted when I learned that nobody knew about this. Nobody except, unfortunately, we didn't get this part on camera, but nobody except a group of what appeared to be probably sophomore or junior girls who walked past us while we were standing outside of Beaver Terrace. And they had thoughts. They thought that Justine, something happened that we're not being told. So, hopefully, if this video gets some traction, then people will begin to ask questions. And the Center County District Attorney, the Center County government, who I remember hating students even when I was there, Bellefonte does not like State College, even though State College is the primary economic driver of Center County. But, you know, maybe somebody needs to be publicly shamed. I've had to do certain things in order to avoid a lawsuit against me, because I have no doubt that that would be filed if I said the wrong thing here. So, yeah, all of this is my opinion, by the way. But yeah, somebody needs to either, I don't know, something needs to happen. Something's got to give, guys. Hopefully that movement comes, but, you know, we'll see. Tragic as it is, Justine's case isn't the first time that a young female student disappeared from an apartment complex in State College. Almost exactly 20 years before Justine Gross met her fate, another young woman named Cindy Song inexplicably vanished on Halloween night. It was November 4th, 2001, by the time anyone realized that Cindy Song was missing. The 21-year-old South Korean-born integrative arts major hadn't shown up to classes on Thursday the 1st, which wouldn't have been all that odd considering the late-night festivities, but when she didn't attend Friday or reply to calls and texts by Sunday or, you know, go to work, her friends became concerned for her well-being. You see, Cindy liked to party, but she was known as a hardworking student who worked 2 jobs on top of her studies. Missing 1 day of class after a holiday might not raise alarms, but 2 days of playing hooky and missing shifts without saying a word to anyone was cause for concern as far as her friends were concerned. Police headed out to her home at State College Park Apartments, which is now Alight State College, to check in on her, but when they arrived, they found the door locked. They were able to obtain entry to apartment 363, at which point they quickly discovered Cindy's backpack, phone, and a pair of fake lashes, indicating that she had indeed made it inside. What happened after that, however, was much more difficult to explain. Unfortunately, her friends could only provide so much information. The last they'd seen of her, it was Halloween night, and they'd just dropped her off at her apartment complex after a night out on the town. Cindy, dressed as a bunny, had been part of a group that spent most of the evening at Players Nightclub in downtown State College, now rebranded as the Basement Night Spot. I have been to the basement. I don't know what it was like when it was Players. It's a nightclub. You know, there's nothing odd about it. They have solid drink specials. To be perfectly honest, I only have vague memories of being at the Basement Night Spot. Anyway, when the bar closed at 2 a.m., she and several others headed back to someone's place to play video games, and then a friend by the name of Stacy drove her back to State College Park Apartments. Stacy did not see Cindy go inside, but as previously mentioned, police found evidence suggesting that she had indeed made her way into the Ferguson Township apartment. What they didn't find was her bunny costume, her wallet, her keys, or her ID, and that raised some questions. What could have possessed her to come inside, take off her eyelashes, and then leave before changing out of the rest of her clothes? There were ideas, of course. Maybe she'd left to go meet a boy, or to go down to the local 24-hour convenience store, as she was sometimes known to do. Either one wouldn't necessarily have been out of character, but her friends insisted that leaving behind her phone would be. As the days passed, the questions only mounted. Cindy didn't turn up in any hospitals or jails, and absolutely nobody came forward to report seeing a girl wandering around in a pink and white bunny costume the day after Halloween. Search parties, including bloodhound teams, fanned out from her apartment, but there was no sign of her anywhere within walking distance. And I'm sure that it wasn't quite as built up back in 2001, but I used to work for a company that had a complex right next to Cindy's. This area is not rural. It's suburban. There's a lot of people around. And it's also far enough away from campus and close to enough large highways that getting lost without finding a road is pretty much impossible. This isn't the kind of thing where you just wander off into the woods. There's a lot of community there. But try as they might, nobody could track down Cindy. And by early December, things were beginning to look hopeless, but then a potential break in the case appeared, and in an unexpected location. 200 miles away in Philadelphia, a report came in regarding a witness who claimed to see someone matching Cindy's description being forced against their will into a vehicle by a man in the Chinatown section of the city. Now, it is probably important to understand that Chinatown in Philadelphia is very close to Center City, so this isn't like it's off in some corner. According to James Engel of the Daily Collegian, Penn State's award-winning student newspaper, the woman was supposedly yelling for help, and the man was reported to be of either Arabic or Asian background, having an olive complexion. Both Philadelphia and Ferguson Township jumped on the lead, but they quickly ran into trouble. By the way, Ferguson Township and State College police departments are different. The borough situation up there is a little weird, but so Ferguson Township had jurisdiction, not State College. But anyway, back to, the problems. For one, while the information made it to Ferguson Township on December 5th, the report itself came from early November. And if that wasn't bad enough, it was compounded by the fact that, after further investigation, the police found the witness's reports were conflicting. Even if she did see something, the police learned nothing valuable, and that meant that they were back at square one. By the time the spring semester began in 2002, the lack of movement on the case was beginning to wear on both those who knew Cindy personally and those who didn't. Despite Ferguson Township having frequent meetings with the FBI, it was already beginning to seem as though the case had gone cold. Countless interviews, missing posters pasted across town, and in-depth looks into every available aspect of Cindy's life had brought nothing to light. It was as if the poor young woman had simply vanished into thin air, and nobody could come up with a reason as to why or how that happened. By the end of 2002, investigators were stuck, but not yet defeated. Detective Brian Sprinkle, the lead investigator, told the Collegian in August of that year that he was still hopeful they'd be able to close the case, especially with reinforcements they were receiving as time went on. The most important would be the appearance of Cindy's story on the hit TV show Unsolved Mysteries, which he hoped would reach someone who might know where the missing student was, or at least where they should look next. Also lending services to the investigation was Los Angeles-based psychic Carla Barron, brought in by Ryan Buell and the Penn State Paranormal Research Society. Yes, that Ryan Buell, the one from the A&E series Paranormal State. It really shouldn't be a surprise that I do this for a living, all things considered. Anyway, Carla's involvement was surprisingly well received, or at least cordially received, with Detective Sprinkle saying that she's given us a lot of information, but nothing that has been helpful at this time. Adding that she has given us a lot of information that may turn into something down the road. Unfortunately, none of Carla's visions led to meaningful leads in the case, which remained in limbo throughout the remainder of 2002 and into the later months of 2003. It was in October of that year that the first genuine lead of the case developed, when a Wilkes-Barre man named Paul Weekly told police that he knew exactly what happened to Cindy and that he could prove it. Paul, as it happened, was on trial for the murders of Michael Kurkowski and Tammy Fassett in 2002, and he was certain that his co-conspirator, Hugo Selensky, was responsible for her disappearance. According to Sprinkle, the story was that Selensky and Kurkowski, who was at the time an accomplice of Selensky's, traveled to Penn State because, and I quote, Kurkowski liked young Oriental girls. Once the pair of predators selected Cindy as their target, they kidnapped her, took her up there, and killed her. Now, outdated terminology aside, I did have classes with a lot of East Asian students when I was at Penn State, so it wouldn't be out of the question that someone looking to kidnap one might head there to do it. It was a compelling story, but Sprinkle needed more evidence. It seemed like that evidence was on the way when investigators in Scranton, working on another tip from Weekly about other homicides committed by Selensky, found the bodies of 5 victims buried in the latter man's backyard between June and October of 2003. The bodies were burned beyond recognition, but not to the extent that DNA couldn't be obtained. Unfortunately, or perhaps fortunately, Song was not among them. But that didn't change Sprinkle's belief that the man could very well be telling the truth about Selensky, who he claimed had confided in him about the event shortly after it happened. Everything else turned out to be true, Sprinkle said in 2009, referring to the fact that it was Weekly's guidance which led Scranton police to search Selensky's backyard in the first place. Frustratingly, any hopes of finding Cindy by further investigating Selensky were dashed when it was revealed that Weekly had researched the case independently and had downloaded information on Cindy's disappearance from the internet before having discussions with police. He'd also admitted to lying to the court on other occasions, and to being aware that his testimony against Selensky could have material benefit when it came to his own sentencing. With that, the last lead regarding the disappearance of Cindy Song turned to dust, and the case remains unsolved as I record this in 2025. Today, very few people at Penn State or elsewhere recall the name Cindy Song, despite her appearances on TV shows like Unsolved Mysteries and coming up on the occasional true crime channel or social media. Hell, even as a Penn State grad myself, I only found out about this story from a compilation video somewhere on YouTube. I thought I recalled it being on Lazy Masquerade, but if it was, I couldn't find it again. Also, I do have to recommend Lazy Masquerade as a channel. It's pretty much just summary stuff. He's not doing deep dives into most of these cases, but it is a great spot to find mysteries you might be interested in researching yourself. I have used his videos to find cases to look into and to do deep dives on myself in the past. I mean, like I said, I was pretty sure I found Cindy Song from one of his videos. But as I said, I found Cindy Song from a YouTube video, not from hearing about it at Penn State, not from, any of my professors mentioning it, not from being a subject of conversation, and I'm not even surprised now that I know how few people knew about Justine Gross just a couple of years after she died. There is one story, however, which every PSU student learns of at some point or another, and it's one that really sticks with you, especially if you find yourself wandering the Pattee Library stacks late at night. That, however, is a story for another time, and probably a much longer video. And don't worry, I'm not going to keep you waiting very long. It should be out in like 2 weeks. And, of course, while we were up shooting for this video, we got plenty of footage from the stacks, and we actually almost got in trouble for that, I think. It seems like somebody was following us around the library, or at least trying to find us in the library, because we were walking around with a cinema camera. So in addition to already doing a good amount of recording and getting lost inside of the stacks a few times, which is, again, I went there for 4 years and I still had trouble navigating down there. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that I have already started the script for the story of Penn State's most infamous unsolved crime, the ice pick murder of Betsy Aardsma. Before I end today's video, though, I want to make one final point. You see, for me, these cases aren't just intriguing unsolved mysteries. They're personal. Penn State was my home for 4 years, and I loved almost every minute of my time in Happy Valley. Part of the reason I was able to enjoy that time was my trust in the State College and University Park police departments, who genuinely have made this a place where students can feel safe even as they walk across town on long, cold, dark winter nights. The departments have, for the most part, earned that trust, and it's unfair to both the hardworking law enforcement officers and the students and townies they protect that hostile Center County politicians can erode that trust by choosing which crimes matter. Normally, I would launch into my if you like to support us spiel, but I do want to say, if you'd like to help us get traction on this case, get eyes back on this case, email the Center County, Pennsylvania District Attorney's Office. Call the office. Tell them that you want to know why Justine Gross's, I can't say killer, but why the person who gave her the drugs, which led to her death, has not been charged. Why he was allowed to walk free. How can they do something like that, knowing how it will make people feel? I mean, if this story is how they have presented it, this kid gave her drugs which caused her death. Cut and dry. So, if you want to help us make a difference, please reach out to the Center County District Attorney and ask about that. And if you would like to support what we do here at the Lore Lodge, the best way to do that is to subscribe on Patreon. It's just $1 a month. And as of the beginning of this month, we have been posting our videos over there ad-free. No mid-roll ads, no sponsored segments, just these videos in their entirety without any interruption. I also post scripts from time to time when I have the time to go through and edit them and get them uploaded. And if you guys request specific scripts, I will make sure to get those up as soon as I possibly can. I currently have somebody working on that. Our intern is, at the moment, going through the Smoky Mountains Missing 401s, because I was writing those in a different style. I was doing bullet points, so she's turning them into prose. Thank you, Sophie. But anyway, yeah, Patreon's great. You can also check out our merch on Bunker Branding. That is down in the description. Oh, and I really need to emphasize this. We are trying to go to Colorado next year, and we have to fill up another 6 slots on that trip. So check out the description for a link to a Trova Trip page where you can come join us in the Rockies. Visit some national parks, go whitewater rafting, all that. We're doing another trip out in Yosemite, which has a few spots left on it, so that will also be in the description. What else is there? Oh, right, coffee. We have coffee, not Pocono Perk. It's delicious. Link in the description. You can also check out our other channels like History Unhinged, The Weird Bible, which I'm currently recording a new series for. That should drop sometime early next year. And I think that's just about it. Yeah, we have our live show on Monday nights. You can catch all this stuff on Spotify now. I usually write this segment at the end of the video. I forgot to do that this time. Discord. Discord's the other big thing. It's linked in the description, or you can go to bit.ly/jointhelodge. With all that said, I'm Aiden Mattis, and thank you for stopping by the Lore Lodge.